Hey everyone, it's Kaylee. I'm back with another what sold from last week video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over what sold for me really quickly last week for a lot of money and then some things that I wouldn't pick up again. If you're a reseller who likes what sold videos and wants to keep up to date with what buyers are looking for on a weekly basis, consider subscribing to this channel. I do what sold videos every single week. Let me know down in the comments, have you guys noticed a big shift in the types of things that your buyers are purchasing in terms of seasonality? As we go through these, see if you pick up on any commonalities within items. Let me know your thoughts down below. Starting with this first item, I actually sold two items with this specific silhouette this week. One is right now, and then you'll see the other one towards the end of the video. But I love this style of dress. It is so trendy. So this waist right here is called a basque waist, which you can tell I put in my title in order to elevate that value. This is just the brand Zara, which I don't pick up a lot of, but when I saw this dress, I knew that it was a killer item. Long length, great silhouette, and all over denim, which can be leaned into multiple trending style aesthetics. So that's what I did with this dress. Knew it was going to be a good one. I do like picking up Zara longer length dresses if they are, really on trend, but otherwise I leave most Zara things behind. This one was an extra small, so that was kind of a factor I think that actually decreased the value, but again, the factors on this one blew me away. So my title for this one was Zara Basque Waist Denim Corset Midi Dress, size extra small, cowgirl country state strapless, not staple, strapless and blue. I also use the keywords coquette and Western glam in my description. This one I had listed, I think for around $50 or $55. This was actually my quickest selling item last week, and it was purely based off of style alone, which is awesome. It sold in 0 days, so no time to sell at all. So the same day we got it listed for an offer of $41, which made my order earnings $32.80. The next one that sold super fast, this took just 1 day to sell, was this We the Free sweatshirt that I sold on Depop. I find Free People to actually sell pretty well on Depop. It is not just vintage stuff. It is also the same trending bolo brands that you sell on eBay that you can sell on Poshmark. They also sell on Depop and they also sell on Whatnot. So I find that stuff sells pretty much across all platforms. It may sell faster on some, but generally speaking, same buyers looking for the same stuff. So this one sold in just 1 day. I am very picky with Free People these days, but anytime I see something substantial, such as a sweatshirt or anything oversized, I always know it's going to be a great piece. This one I had listed for $45. It was called the Camden sweatshirt. My title was We the Free Women's Oversized Camden Sweatshirt, size medium, ivory, asymmetrical, and slouchy. This ended up selling on an offer for $36, and my earnings was $30.35. Great thing about Depop is even if you're boosting, they take far less fees than other platforms, so I'm willing to take a little bit lower offer on Depop compared to some other platforms just because I get to keep more of the net profits. So super quick sale on that. This was also a really surprising quick sale, and this also sold on Depop. This is Torrid, which is a brand I don't pick up very often, but I like picking it up in the style-based pieces, anything that can be leaned into goth or witchy or like has dark florals on it. I find that those do well. That seems to be the customer base. This one was a test item, actually. It was an open knit cardigan. This could be leaned into a lot of different ways. My title for this one was Torrid Women's Whimsy Goth Dark Coquette Fairy Cottagecore Cardigan, size 2X black. This took 1 day to sell for my full asking price of $29 on Depop. I was actually willing to let it go for $25, but when I cross-post things onto Depop and Poshmark, I'm typically adding $5 to $10, depending on the price point, in order to account for offers. Since I can't turn offers off on those two platforms, but I can on eBay, I increase it by just a tiny bit to account for those offers. And expect it to sell for my eBay price, but this one actually sold just for my full asking price of $29. And my earnings, which are estimated because this actually sold in a bundle, was estimated for this item alone to be around $22.09. So that was kind of surprising. Super quick sale for this piece. Next up, another really quick sale. This one also sold in just one day. These are a pair of Polo Ralph Lauren men's chinos. This is called the Andrew pant. Pretty much anytime I see Ralph Lauren men's pants, I always look them up, but especially if they have an exact style name. And that's really true for anything reselling. If you see anything, even if it's, I don't know, like a Target brand, a Walmart brand, if you see a style name on the tag, I always look those up more often than not. They are really great pieces. These are very just classic pair of green men's chinos. I listed them for $40. I received an offer for $30 on Depop, which I accepted, and my earnings were $25.20. All right, next up we have a Forever 21 item. This one is an older label. This one was so quick as well. Kind of like a silky, it's not real silk, but silky feeling viscosy top. I just photographed this one. This one could be leaned into a bunch of other aesthetics as well. I'll tell you the keywords I use here in just a moment, but it's got a pleated front, kind of an apron look to it. It ties in the back. It's got that really deep square neckline, which is very trendy in the Y2K aesthetic. So I listed this one at $30, again, to account for offers. My title was XXI, so Forever 21, vintage Y2K whimsy goth baby doll tank top, size large, tie back, kawaii, and square neck. This one only took 5 days to sell. It did sell for my full asking price of $30, so really high demand on this. And my earnings, because of the low Depop fees, was $28.27. Next up, another quick flip. This one sold on Poshmark. This is an INC blazer, not a brand that I would look for, but something I do like selling is velvet during this time of the year, especially like paired with jewel tones, factor stacking in that way. Jewel tones and velvet seem to perform really well for me. I am going to slow down on velvety stuff just because we're moving into warmer weather and not everybody's wearing velvet, but it's still selling really well for me. This style-based piece I listed for $35 on Poshmark and sent out automatic offers using Nifty, which you can set up behind the scenes. And somebody accepted that offer of $29. This sold within just 5 days, and my earnings were $23.20. My title for this one was INC Women's Whimsy Goth Velvet Blazer, size medium, green V-neck, 2-pocket, and 1 button. I used some keywords in the description such as event, witchy, goth, emo, grunge, and steampunk. Next up, this was an interesting sale. So if you don't know, this is a fantastic bolo to look for in J. Crew. They're called their roll neck sweaters. It is like the epitome of what you want in a J. Crew sweater. This is a men's roll neck sweater. I use keywords such as heritage, fisherman, and old money. This was also blue, which is a trending, like one of the most trending colors in this aesthetic. But this one had a bleach stain that was pretty obvious on the back of the shoulder. So I had to account for that in my pricing. Otherwise, I would have probably listed this over $100. I think we listed these for maybe around $95. And I got a bunch of messages on all of the platforms, including some buyers trying to bully me into selling it for less just because it had that bleach mark. But I knew what this thing was worth, so I stuck to my guns. This sold in just 6 days for an offer of $76, and my earnings were $60.80. Was really happy with that $76 sale, especially having it listed at $95 with that pretty massive flaw that's not going to come out for the buyer. So $76 on this one. Again, had this not had the flaw, I would have listed for over $100 and probably gotten that just as quickly. Okay, next up, the last super quick sale that I'm going to share with you in today's video was this Lululemon sweater. This sold in just 9 days for an offer of $28, which I accepted, and my earnings were $22.40. When it comes to Lululemon, I am very cautious with pricing these days, just because a lot of it's oversaturated. It's still a decent brand to look for. You just really want to know what it is you have. And then if it is slightly oversaturated, make sure you price accordingly. Maybe a year ago, I could have gotten $40 to $50 for this. This year, I'm looking at more like about 30 bucks, which is what I ended up taking for this. So this sweater again earned me $22.40 in just 9 days. I also like showing these outliers. If you came across a sweater like this, you definitely wouldn't be thinking Lululemon. So I like pointing these out just so you know to look for them. All right, moving on to my highest sales dollar section. I've mentioned before, I have been accepting consignment on some higher end pieces. And what people are sending me is really interesting because it's not always like a designer brand that you would think would sell well. So I'm learning a little bit from my consignees too. Consigner. And this was actually one of my higher sales. So my cost of goods was $0 because it was consignment. This is an H&M collaboration, which full stop. If you see any collaboration, even if it's with a mall brand, always look it up. Especially H&M. They have some pretty good ones. It's not always, going to be a really high sell-through rate thing, but some of them are really high sell-through rate and some of them sell for lots of money. Collaborations in general on any tag, any brand that I see, I look up because they're smaller batch made. So sometimes they can be kind of rare. People highly seek after them, especially if they sell out during the drop. So always look it up. This one did have multiple flaws throughout, so I had to keep that in mind with pricing. This is Sabiasachi Calcutta with H&M. Hopefully I pronounced that at least half right. This is a full length maxi dress, super gorgeous and on trend. Really great style-based piece as well. With all of the flaws, we priced this at $125. It did sell for our full asking price in just 29 days of being listed. And the order earnings before splitting it with the people who consigned with me was $93.85. So I'm going to make half of that because those are our terms. We do half of the order earnings. And so, yeah, for me, this was a win-win. Free cost of goods. I get, what was that? About a 40 something dollar profit, which is amazing. And then the person who consigned it doesn't have to list or spend all that time. They just ship it to us. So consignment has been a newer venture for us, and it is definitely panning out. And I'll continue sharing some of those with you guys if you're interested in it on these What Sold videos. All right, next up, this was actually one of my longest items to sell, but also my highest. I included it in the highest because I would definitely pick this up again. But I was being a little bit stingy on pricing with this one. I definitely could have sold it sooner if I was willing to let go of that high price, which I was not because this is a very rare item. This is an Abercrombie & Fitch Y2K baby doll top. Could not find anything like this. Normally, I don't go looking in comps for the exact item. It's just, things that are pretty similar. For this particular piece, because I know it was rare, I was looking for the exact one and couldn't find it. So I held on to my pricing. This one did take 133 days to sell. So roughly a little over 6 months to sell. Like I said, I could have and probably should have accepted lower offers. I listed this originally around $150, which is high. Somebody finally sent me an offer for $105, and I went ahead and accepted that offer. My earnings on that was $84. So definitely made quite a bit of money off of it, but I could have made probably about as much a lot sooner if I would have just priced it like maybe at $100 or best offer. All right, next up, one of my other highest price sales. This one sold in just 24 days, so it was also a really quick flip. And you may notice, similar to the dress, the very first item that I showed you, it also has a basque waist. Whenever you're seeing patterns in your sales, things that are frequently popping up, make sure to make a note of that, either in your head or actual physical paper, because those are the factors that tend to increase value in any item that you have. So I always love just making mental notes of anything that is the same across all brands, and basque waist is definitely one that I am noticing. This one was not a modern piece. This was a vintage piece. My title was Vintage Velvet Lace Whimsy Goth Midi Dress, size medium, gothic, basque waist, Victorian, and black. So lots of great keywords, and we put even more in the description. I listed this for around $60. It did have a couple of flaws. It did end up, however, selling for my full asking price in, again, just 24 days, and my earnings were $43.73. Okay, next up, another style-based piece. This is actually, I don't know if it's necessarily a Bolo brand in vintage, but I did see a lot of really good comps in this brand. And anytime I see a thick sweater that also says knitted by hand or hand knit, always indicator to me, again, with that pattern recognition, to look it up. And I would have picked this up regardless of brand, just because lots of great style in this one. So this is a men's vintage chunky knit cardigan. It has a multicolor, kind of an 80s look to it, Fair Isle print. This one did have a little bit of wear. I listed it for $50. It took 58 days to sell, so just under 2 months. And it sold for my full asking price. My earnings were $36.69. My title was Vintage Saturdays Men's Hand Knit Chunky Fair Isle Nordic Sweater Size Extra Large Holiday. I am, again, slowing down on sweaters like this as we move into the spring season. If I do pick anything up, I'm making sure to price it really competitively just to make sure it's not going to sit in my store for another year. Okay, speaking of things sitting in your store for a long time, these leggings also took a long time to sell. These took about 6 months, so 129 days. These are a pair of Fanka leggings. Fanka is a really great brand to look for in leggings. They have a really good sell-through rate, and depending on the style that you have and the size, sometimes you'll actually get over 100% sell-through rate. These ones I think took so long to sell because I didn't have the size tag, and therefore I had to measure to get the size, which is always a barrier of trust for your buyer to overcome. So I probably, because of that, should have priced this lower just to make sure, with that barrier being there, that the buyer, one thing dragging it down a competitive price, so drag it back up basically. But I didn't. We priced at our normal pricing of $50, and that's why it took so long to sell. It did end up finally selling at around that 6-month mark for $50, my full asking price, and my earnings were $39.38. Keep your eye out for this brand Fanka. This is their logo. Okay, and then the last higher dollar sale that I'm going to share with you is this women's J. Crew dress. This one I've also had for a while. I've relisted it a couple of times. This took 131 days to sell, so again, about 6 months. It did end up selling for my full asking price of $50, and my earnings were $36.99. This is a J. Crew long length dress with a Madras plaid look to it. The reason I think this one took so long to sell is because it was a size extra, extra small. Really tough size to sell in this particular aesthetic, but J. Crew dresses for spring and summer, I really like flipping their longer length ones. I find that they do pretty well. I listed this one for, again, $50, and it did sell for that full asking price. Now I have a handful of items to show you that I would not pick up again and that took forever to sell and sold for a really low amount. So let's take a look at some of those before we finish up here. All right, this one is a style-based piece. I had this for 195 days, so a little over 6 months. This is the brand Jennifer Lloyd. When I looked this up, they had some pretty decent comps on Y2K tops, which this was a Y2K top. It had some really great factors to it. The shape was good. It had lace-up detail. It had some like lace trim. Silhouette was good. I think the problem with this one is the print is just really confusing. Had this print not been there, I think I could have marketed it like heavily into whimsy goth, into Victorian, lots of stuff, but this print really threw it off. And so one thing can be a big deterrent for your buyer and just not fit into the outfit that they are envisioning for themselves. So this one did end up taking forever to sell. I ended up accepting an offer of $15 on Poshmark, and my earnings were $12. I didn't lose money. However, would have really liked to not have had my investment tied up for half of a year. Next up, this is another Y2K piece. This is an Aeropostale men's hoodie. This one definitely had some wear to it, very worn in. This one ended up selling 134 days later for an offer of $20, and my earnings were $17.31. The reason I think this one took so long to sell and then not for, a decent amount that we were hoping for was because it was more thin. And when it comes to men's Y2K hoodies, you should be looking for those really thick, chunky ones, and typically full zip too. I don't have as much luck selling the pullover ones, which this one was. Okay, next up, a plus size item. This is Logo by Lori Goldstein. This is actually in a really great size of 4X. However, this one took a while to sell. I think because even though it was like a nice floral print, it's pretty basic otherwise. It's not buttoned down, it's short sleeve. It was just a lot pulling away from the substantialness of it, besides the fact that it was a 4X and floral. This one also took 134 days to sell. I accepted an offer of $15 and my earnings was $12. And the last one are these pair of J. Crew men's Ludlow pants. Again, if you ever see a style name on any item, I would always look it up. J. Crew also makes Ludlow blazers, and the Ludlow blazers have, really good demand. So when I came across the pants, I knew I wanted to have them. Now, these ones we listed for $35. However, I just checked the sell-through rate of these in the specific size, specific style, and there's about a 50% sell-through rate on these right now, and the average market value on these pants is around $25. So I definitely think that's why they took so long to sell. And typically we don't pick up things with that low of a sell-through rate and that low of an ASP. So I think at the time we looked them up, comps probably looked a little bit better. But if I were to pick this up today, I would definitely price a lot more competitively. So again, we had this listed $10 over market, which is why it took so long to sell. This ended up selling after 133 days for an offer of around $30, and my earnings were $23.17. All right, guys, so that's it for what sold last week. Hope that you all enjoyed watching. Let me know how your sales are going down below, and if you haven't already, are you noticing a shift in what your buyers are purchasing in terms of seasonality, maybe factors? Drop them in the comments down below. I know for me, I'm selling a lot of basque waist dresses. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.